Aletha here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have Megan joining us. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Amanda.
So it's so awesome. She's got a success story from one of her clients that actually her and her ex, or her and her boyfriend broke up, and then she manifested him back, and back to being in a relationship. So how amazing is that? And of course, like always, we're going to read the success story, and then we are going to talk about the important points that she did to basically make this happen. So hopefully you can apply that into your life and make it happen for yourself as well. So yeah, Megan, let's hear it. Exciting.
Okay, this is good, guys. She first of all says, this is finally the day my success story is going to be read by you on Amanda's channel. I've been dreaming about this and I've been envisioning it. I'm so excited. So here we go. So before I start with my story, I suggest to hold on, find a comfortable position, and this is what I did. So I met him in November of last year. After 2 weeks of visualizing being in a romantic relationship and intending for a certain goal to happen, I am a fitness and I wanted to be a competitor, but I needed someone who could work out with. And guess what? I got the package in 2 weeks. The man was a combination of all these things I wanted and needed at the time. When we randomly met at the gym and working on together on going out casually, my mental diet at that time consisted of thoughts regarding how much he was into me and only me, that he was chasing me and he wanted me and wanted to be in a relationship and all that. And so of course that's what happened. He was very interested in me. Everything was flowing. When I felt kind of ready, I said, okay, it's now time to get a little bit physical. But of course, this was pushed to the extreme and I did not expect to do certain things. I remember that day, it was very sweet, romantic. It was fun. Until I went home, then I started to get anxious and worry and everything like, this went too fast, where is this going, what's going to happen, am I going to be taken for granted? It was a particular moment in life in which, for some reason, I was changing my career path too. So I was very anxious. I remember the next days I started imagining arguing with him in my mind until it was too late. A few weeks later, that's how he started to act. Hot and cold to me, he was disappearing, not replying to my text, being not so kind actually to me at all. It was really painful because of all of the time there was so much going on and I really needed him. But of course, it was my mental thoughts. At the end of the year, I was expecting to spend the first day of 2020 with him. It didn't happen. Instead, a few days before it, after a workout session, he told me he wanted a break, but we never discussed being in a relationship. That day, after hearing those words, I didn't argue, I just went away. I knew the cause of it was me. I went home. I cried for about an hour. I said to myself that even if it was going to be like this, I can change this because I know how powerful I can be. During the next few weeks, I was keeping up a mental diet and was focused on him being in love with me, wanting me, and had to see myself as a new person that was worthy of being loved. I had to forgive myself and forgive him and revise the past. And that's when I found Create Your Future within Amanda's tips. Finally, and I found Megan. Finally, I found someone who truly knew what she was talking about. Finally, someone who truly wanted to help, who wants to help, and who truly did it because times over and over again. You can see also in Amanda's eyes when you watch her video, her extremely energetic and how inspiring she is.
Aww.
So after the breakup, yeah, that's so sweet. Well, you are a very genuine person.
Aww,
so after the breakup, he disappeared for 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks of keeping a strict mental diet as possible, that's how he started coming to the gym again. We didn't talk, but he started to figure out where I was going to be, when I was going to work out, and he would come to talk to me. We met almost every day at some point. Sometimes we looked at each other randomly, and I could see that he was watching me. I was working out. This went on, and he was trying to catch my attention casually. But I didn't notice it because it wasn't direct contact. Moving forward with the story, I had to move to another another nearby country for almost 10 days. But at the end of those 10 days, I would have had to find another house for me. And that's when I figured out I needed some real help. So I had the balls to send him a message out of nowhere, asking him if he was able to help me with moving for a few weeks. He replied, he said, yeah, everything's gonna be working out, until I just freaked out again. I was asking, I want to do for real? I'm not ready. I need my space. I'm anxious. Will I ever find the right home for me? And then I stopped the manifestation, resulting in him, guess what? Disappearing again. At this point, you would be like, where's the success story here? But I need to tell you all these details. I tell you, I got strong in mental diet. I forgave myself again. I forgave him again. And now I was like, okay, let's continue. Like nothing happened. For me at this point, it was something more than just having a relationship and being happy. For me, this became a mission. If I was going to do this, I would have taught these things to other people. So get right back to the diet. So I got right back to my diet, my mental diet, that is. I spent the next few days in a wonderful, different environment, and I knew something was going to happen when I was coming home. I intended that when I would come back, we would randomly be at the gym on the same, and he'd ask me out for a date. And that's what happened. When he saw me, I just waved my hand without doing anything else. And he ran into me and hugged me, asked me for forgiveness, and holding my hand while saying he missed me so much. And that if I was okay, and asked me if I could go to a restaurant after working out. That day, it was heaven and hell, I tell you. Everything was going well. To the restaurant, we went to the places to get some drinks, and then things got passionate, and guess what? You can imagine. This time, I wasn't worried about it. I was just living in the moment, and that's when I opened up my feelings to him. He didn't say anything back to me. We stayed up late until the morning, and while enjoying coffee and talking, he said how he feels comfortable with me. He feels like we've known each other forever. And at some point I said, okay, this was created with every thought. I could hold point if he had a previous marriage or something, I couldn't hold my tears because I didn't expect that. When he noticed it, he started to change. He had attitude after talking more. He said things like, I don't want a relation with you. I don't have feelings for you. I didn't react because I knew that wasn't true and that he was me pushed out. You don't fight I knew this wasn't true. Wait, was it? What? You don't fight for our relationship? But he didn't want to leave. Kept asking me things and talking to me and didn't want to go home. He even said, is everything okay? Well, you can imagine what the situation, how crazy the situation was. This time I kept my cool with my mental diet because I've learned, and we went on dates together the very next 3 days as nothing happened. He had changed. He was less, but not still he was less hot, but still very sweet. He said to me that he was going to another country. During this time, I had bigger balls, and I asked him again if he was going to be okay with helping me move to the house, and if I could stay there for a few weeks. And he said, of course, he would let me stay at the house and wait for him to come back. After a few days, I was still waiting at the house, and I was a little freaked out. I reacted assuming he was going to act like he did before, cold, laugh out loud. I just couldn't be calm at all because I had the fear of losing my house and fears of going back to the country. So I reacted, and I said to him that I was going to go back to my country since I didn't have the means to live anywhere. And that's when we had this huge argument. And then guess what? We had no contact for 1 month. This time, again, I kept my mental diet, a strict mental diet, and persistence, but nothing happened. Nothing happened until I reached out to you, Megan, and you pointed out where I couldn't see it for myself. I was thinking that I did something wrong, that what happened was something wrong, and he wouldn't forgive me. The cure for me was I did nothing wrong. I can say and do everything I want, and he still loves me unconditionally. And I started to focus on he shows up, we're back together. I persisted until days after the coaching sessions with Megan. I sent him a casual message. Since I had booked my flight for going back to the country, 3 days passed until I woke up. Got the casual text back, plus a call in the middle of the night. Of course, I missed that though. At this point, I had enough of all those months, and I declined to invite him to go out, and he said no. I didn't let this mean anything. I texted him again the next day and about the new gym that was opening up, and got said replies he was excited about it and wanted to go there. That was the day. I woke up with 3 calls, laugh out loud, of him and texting about working out. Finally, we met. After more than a month, we had not seen each other. When sipping coffee, he said to me he missed me, that throughout this time he wanted to text me, but somehow in his head said no, and that I am his family. He said sorry, and he thinks he is just moody. If he's only knew the truth, laugh out loud about everybody's me push out. Beautiful words, and this time I could see him as a new, different man. He also said now how he wasn't coming back in the country because he had plans to remain in the other country, but he was forced to move back because they closed all the gyms. So this was a bridge of events. Working on the gym, he couldn't let me go anywhere without him. He was following me. He wanted to work out near me. He had all of his focus and attention. We then went to get some groceries and shopping. And thirdly, he wanted to buy me everything that I wanted. He was very and kind all the time, super focused on me. He was very attentive. And he said he wanted to spend much, much, much more time with me. When I got home, I casually checked my email and my flight for going back to the country. Guess what? It was canceled. I was shocked, but I felt I didn't know what to do. I knew that this was a part of a bridge of events, and by my reactions of my family, that very bad and couldn't keep it cool. Keeping the diet still strict and trying to ignore the fact that it seemed like I had just gained a few weeks, go back home, focusing on all the tips you, Megan, gave me. 1 week passed and I didn't hear from him. Then one day he asked me to do some bicycling together, and that's when we had the best date ever. He was affectionate, gave me so many attention, super sweet. He started to talk about how I love living in this country, and then we were in line waiting for and taking our bikes, but another person jumped in line and he got angry at them, and they were listening actively at the moment. So I hit the ground almost a few seconds later when I say to them, we're waiting in line for half hour, me and my girlfriend. He called me his girlfriend. And that was when I got the aha. This is working out so well. A few minutes after saying that, he got super happy and he was throwing himself at me. And he was throwing me up in the air like a little kid, like I visualized a few times. And I could see that all my intending was starting to come true. After that date, we met at the gym constantly, and we went out for lunch constantly. And that's when we started to talk about going back to the country again. And he asked me what I was going to do now that my flight was canceled. Now I'm acting like I don't know where I'm gonna go, but my mental diet is very clear. I will update you on my journey. I know it's gonna be better and better. I trust the process. To me, I keep setting higher goals. I set smaller goals, and now I'm going to keep setting higher goals because that's more achievable. Not only in my love life, but my career and finances. I finally understood through trial and error that I'm truly the God of my universe. But sometimes it's better to sit down and figure it out with another person who has knowledge and who's experienced in manifesting to know that everything's possible. I'm so grateful I found you, Megan, Amanda. You're my favorite people in the planet. One of the biggest inspirations, and I'm forever thankful. It is sure that I will keep you both updated. I love you both, and I love the invaluable, precious service that you're doing in this world to everyone, knowing deeply that someday I'll be doing the same.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. That's amazing. You know what I really loved about that story is, like, she really pointed out that, she got him chasing her, okay, like a couple times, right? But then again, hot, cold behavior. And she clearly knows that it was her thoughts creating it, and then, she found out the underlying thing was that, she always felt like she was doing something wrong and that she needed to change who she was for him. But the whole problem was just, shifting into, look at, what, he loves me unconditionally. And, you know, that's what coaching is good for, is we get to take the outside look, and we can identify your blocks just by listening to you, right? You know, because you tell it in the story. And sometimes,
Yes, yes.
you know, I think if people knew what thoughts and stories block them, they wouldn't have them to begin with, right? You know, so it helps to bounce them off of somebody. That's so amazing. What a good story.
Yeah, I know. And you're right, because you can have the tips. We know what mental diet is. We know everybody's you pushed out. But sometimes it's just, sometimes you don't even hear yourself talking through the things. And that's what we do here, is figure out the block, you know, and be able to identify. And a lot of people don't want to tell their stories because your circumstances don't matter. I mean, they don't, but you have to tell us so we can figure her, because as you know, she said she had lots of trial and error, but it was just that last thing, like you said, not having to change herself.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I get the not wanting to tell the old story, but the thing is, right, is if you're persisting for any more than a week or two and your outer reality isn't changing, then something is happening that needs to be reviewed. So, you know, blocks and thoughts are things, and things will stay into play until we recognize them and change them. So if I say, I remember creating 20 years ago when it was sunny outside that people did not know how to drive. And to this day that happens. And until I actually acknowledge it and then renounce it, it'll actually stay in play. And see, our brain does that for us as a favor, because if it didn't put all of our thoughts and beliefs into play for us constantly, that's already programmed in there, we would essentially wake up and not know who we are, where we are. We'd have to recreate everyone around us and what we do and who we are in our whole entire house, right? So it works in our benefit when things are working for us, but it doesn't work in our benefit when things aren't working for us, right?
Right. Exactly. And you know, as your famous line, there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback. And that's what he kept doing, giving her feedback so she could adjust where she was going with her thoughts as well.
Yeah, you know, I love that when she had described in the beginning, like that he was chasing her, because that's what her thoughts were. Her thoughts were on cloud nine. He wants me. He's chasing me. He wants to be around me, you know. And then when she shifted to questioning and worrying, he went to not wanting to be around her, right? You know, and it's funny that at one point in the story, she says, well, he says, I wanted to call you, but something just said no. So, it was like, you know, every time she was like, call me, he was like, okay. But then she was like, no, he's not going to. He was like, I can't, you know, like, and like, everyone really is being pushed out, you know. I mean, people are constantly picking up on your vibes that you're putting out your thoughts, and they're gonna, you know, they're gonna send that back to you and be like, you know, you told me to do this. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the hot and cold behavior. But I do think it's interesting. You can see how quickly it can change too.
That was so fast. It was, you know, 1 second, right? And back and forth. I think the biggest thing that I really got from the story was, you know, she said, look, I'm just going to forgive him, forgive myself, and forget that it happened and move on, you know, every time something bad. And that's truly it. You know, when something bad happens in a relationship, you've just got to, you know, get over it and be like, okay, I'm going to act like nothing's ever happened. I'm going to pretend nothing ever happened. And when you pretend that, they're going to pretend that, you know, and if it's not a big deal to you, it's not going to be a big deal to them. Right. And I think that was one of the biggest things that, you know, that got her, you know, okay, fresh slate right now, forgetting about the past, letting it go. Let's start fresh right now. Pretending like that never happened, moving on. Or the biggest thing I do is I make things a joke, you know?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise you're dwelling on it and you're recreating it. So you might as well just focus on what you want to create.
Exactly. Or the other thing I do is I make things into a joke. If somebody says something that I don't like, I have two options. I can react really negatively and get upset, or I can make it into a joke and not make it a big deal, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
That's the other good one.
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
It all comes down to that anyway, doesn't it?
Oh, it totally does. Totally does. Yeah. Well, that was an amazing story. It was a long one, but it was worth every minute of it. It really illustrated, you know, the back forth. And, you know, she shared what her thoughts were to get him to chase her. And I think that, you know, everybody should maybe take note of that, you know, her thoughts were all about how much he wanted to be with her. And that's what shifted him to chasing her, right? So, you know, we want to focus on you know, that, you know, if you want someone to chase you, say, I intend for them to chase me and want to be with me and only me, right? Yeah.
You know, and one more thing I was thinking, she was very, very persistent. I know some people just are like, oh, I'm calling this a failure, I'm stopping, you know, and she just kept going and going. She's very persistent in what she wanted, and that's the key, persistence, persistently assuming what you want.
You know, exactly. You know, it's when do we decide that something isn't going to happen? When do we decide we're not going to manifest it, right? Like, you know, that's our choice. You know, it's like, when do we give up on it? I mean, I never give up on any of my intentions. You know, I know we're all going to show up at some point, but, you know, when do we decide that it's not going to happen? Because we're the creators of our reality, right? So you're right, persistence in her mental diet. So amazing. So proud of her. Yay!
I know, yay, good job. We're so excited for you.
Oh, we're rooting for you. And yes, guys, everybody out there, you know, intend the people in your lives love you absolutely unconditionally. You deserve it. You can have that. It's okay. It's okay to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So awesome. Well, thank you, Megan, for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And we'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.